Have you ever loaded into a game of Dead by Daylight and gotten absolutely destroyed by opponents who have thousands of hours more than you do? Dead by Daylight's matchmaking system is generally a mystery to the majority of the player base, with more misconceptions than actual facts out there and a lot of people getting increasingly frustrated with the system. I will try to shed some light on those mysteries in this video and explain how the matchmaking truly works, and why running perks like Nord or Distortion have the potential to ruin Dead by Daylight for you. Please note, most of the information in this video has either been data mined since MMR information is not encrypted, or straight up released info by the developers themselves. I hope you enjoy. For the first 5 years of Dead by Daylight's history, matchmaking was done via the ranks each player had. Gaining emblems would earn pips, which would increase your ranks. Once a month there was a rank reset, which would throw all the players into a big pool again. This was an incredibly diverse experience with enough playtime, even someone brand new would eventually go to the highest rank, leading to a very unbalanced matchmaking experience. This matchmaking changed in 2021 to the skill-based matchmaking, which we still have today. It judges a player's skill using an ELO rating system, a method of calculating player skill that got invented for chess and is nowadays used by most online games for matchmaking purposes. This means DBD's matchmaking is in no way related to ranks, rates, or emblems anymore. With this new system, every DBD player has ratings for the survivor and each individual killer that changes based on how they perform in their matches. Even though each killer has an individual rating, there's a rubber banding system in place, which means no killer can be too far away from the player's best performing one. This ensures semi-accurate matchmaking when a veteran player is trying out a new killer. There are also defined conditions to gain or lose ELO in the system. For killers, killing 3 or 4 survivors is a win, 2 is a draw, and 1 or 0 is a loss. For survivors it is a tiny bit more complicated. For rating purposes, the survivors are actually not a team. There are 4 individuals who all have to fight their own battle against the killer. If they escape through a gate, they win. Getting hatched is a draw, and dying is considered a loss. This means if a survivor dies and he enables all of his teammates to escape thanks to his place, he will actually end up losing matchmaking rating, also known as MMR. Now, there are a lot of modifiers that change how many points are gained or lost. The longer the trial goes on for, the more impactful it is for MMR, up to a cap of 10 minutes. Survivors lose less points when they die if one or more of their teammates escape, to not overly punish altruism. The maximum that can be earned in a single trial is 20 points. Playing against a higher rated player will increase point gains on a win, but dampen the decrease on a loss. The system would expect the higher rated player to come out on top. This also works the other way around. The MMR spectrum has 4 different brackets and will generally try to match players within each bracket, and ideally with a similar rating. At 650 points is a testing bracket for new accounts to test how they perform while only playing against other new accounts. After the testing period, they get sorted into one of the other 3 brackets. 900 to 1200 is the low skill bracket. This is where the relatively new players and extremely casual ones end up, with the majority of players having very few hours. 1200 to 1600 is the medium skill bracket, which has a wide variety of players, from fairly inexperienced ones with less than 100 hours who are actually trying to semi-casual veterans. And lastly, 1600 plus is considered the high skill bracket. Getting into this bracket is easier than you might think. Players who only have a few hundred hours and would generally not be considered super experienced can easily end up playing against 10,000 hour cringe threadlords who play DBD for a living. Just like me. After ranking into this bracket, there's also a loss prevention system in place that prevents the player from immediately dropping back out even if they lose multiple matches in a row. This can be a cause for major frustration and confusion for a lot of players, who seem to be getting opponents who consistently outclass them in terms of experience. If you can relate to this, chances are you just got into this bracket. The highest reachable value in terms of matchmaking is 2100. It is possible to get high MMR, but the system will view anyone with an even higher number as a 2100 player. Most veteran streamers and comp players will be very close to the soft cap, somewhere between 2000 and 2100 ELO. It is worth noting that the soft cap is actually fairly high at this point, so that only a limited amount of players manage to reach such a rating. With that in mind, you would probably think that these players almost exclusively play against each other. But today's matchmaking highly prioritizes speed with a unidirectional matchmaking. This means if player A waits long enough, they can get into a match with player B, even though player B just queued and found a match instantly. Sounds good on paper, but the system also has flaws that make it very gruesome and unfair, which I want to explain. The most obvious one is that the survivor team gets treated as 4 individuals instead of a team. Enabling teammates to escape is not worth anything, which means aggressive players who take chase and create space for their teammates get punished, and passive players are more likely to reach higher brackets, even though the majority of players would consider them less skilled than the aggressive ones. This is especially confusing considering the devs used analogies to other team sports when describing their system. Because matchmaking prioritizes speed to such an extent, it is almost never accurate. If any rank or role within a skill bracket has a little bit of queue time, they can pull anyone else from that skill bracket into their lobby. This effectively means the matchmaking within the bracket is almost exclusively non-existent, meaning you will almost never have to wait more than a minute for a match, but what kind of opponents or teammates you get can feel incredibly inconsistent and strange. Playing passively with perks like Urban Evasion or Distortion, in which the player who's probably not very skilled in chase will stand even less of a chance if the killer chooses to tunnel them. This includes those survivors who are less prone to altruism and rush gens rather than unhooking or healing. Same can be said for killer. Beating uncoordinated teams with tunneling, camping, or perks that naturally lead to more kills can easily raise their MMR until survivors get coordinated enough to beat them, in which case they cannot play without it anymore. This is why killers who are getting beat up all game are way more likely to have a hidden Nord in their pocket and still get some kills on the board. This holds true more often than you would think. But now I can take it. Hello? Bro, you have it down. Chill. This is obviously not a very pleasant experience for the killer player that does not understand what is happening and why he continuously gets outmatched in terms of experience, and why the matches get more and more frustrating. To me, Survivor is a team game, and enabling your teammates to escape by taking chase and pressure off them is one of the most skillful things possible and should get rewarded. Which means the survivors should gain and lose rating as a team, which would fix a lot of the matchmaking problems passive players experience. Today's matchmaking prioritizes speed over accuracy to an unhealthy extent. The amount of uneven matches makes the game less enjoyable for both sides. Having a healthy back and forth is way more fun than a one-sided stomp that seems to be increasingly common in today's game. I would rather wait one more minute and have a more balanced matchmaking experience, with more even matches that are fun for both sides. The way the system judges skill is generally not how the large majority of the community does. Creating a bit more complicated formula that takes things like chase time on survivor or hook count on killer into account could lead to a better experience. Just escaping on survivor or killing on killer does not paint the whole picture. Keep in mind that the developers are still actively working on the system. Some of the values mentioned in this video might change, but chances are the system as a whole will stay put. I hope you enjoyed this type of video. I would love for you to leave a like if you did, and maybe I'll do more in the future. See you next time.